Welcome back. At 40 years old, Jesse Chavez is still contributing to an Atlanta Braves team with playoff expectations. His career has spanned multiple decades and multiple teams, and even includes a World Series ring. His breakout 2014 season with Oakland is among the better feel-good stories of the decade. What makes it even better was his path to get there, as his path to the majors took many twists and turns and seemed unlikely to even happen. For starters, he was drafted in the 42nd round of the 2002 draft by the Texas Rangers. Yes, 4-2. The draft nowadays ends at 20 rounds. He was drafted out of Riverside City College, a junior college in Riverside, California, and it appears he did not receive a signing bonus. At the very least, it was never reported. Texas initially used him both in the rotation and in the bullpen, but in 2005 he was moved to the bullpen permanently. As a prospect, he was never viewed as more than organizational filler. Baseball America did not even rank him among their top prospects until 2006, where he ranked 31st in the Ranger system. At the 2006 trade deadline, while still in the minor leagues, he was traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Kip Wells. All you need to know about the trade is that Wells only made 2 starts for the Rangers, and an injury to his right foot led to season-ending surgery. Entering the 2007 season, Chavez was ranked 24th in the Pirate system, with some people starting to notice the hard-throwing reliever. He made his major league debut on August 27, 2008, and remained on the Pirates roster for the rest of the season. He would make the Pirates opening day roster in 2009, and remained on the roster for the entire season. For a reliever who was mainly eating innings on a rebuilding team, he did okay, though that might be generous considering he was barely above replacement level at .1 WAR. Over 73 appearances, 67 in the third innings, he had a 4.01 ERA and 4.85 FIP. Those 73 appearances led the Pirates, 16 more than closer Matt Capps. His fastball did average 94.5 miles per hour, quite a bit above the 91.8 league average, which drew attention to Chavez. With that season, you would think the rebuilding Pirates would view the hard-throwing Chavez as a cheap depth piece in the bullpen, but instead he would be traded shortly after the season. Elsewhere in baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays had a decision to make on second baseman Akinori Awamura: either exercise a $4.85 million team option or buy out his contract for $550,000. Awamura missed half of the 2009 season with injury, and the Rays had multiple internal options step up while he was out. While the Rays could use the salary relief, they did not want to simply give up on Awamura, who was worth 3.1 wins the year before. On November 3rd, days before Tampa had to decide, they traded Awamura to the Pirates for Chavez, who took on Awamura's entire contract in the process. He would be spectacularly terrible for the Pirates. He only played in 54 games, but was worth negative 1.6 WAR. Negative 1.6 wins despite only playing a third of the season. He was released before the end of the year. For the Rays, they now have almost $5 million in salary relief and an intriguing young reliever. While the Rays needed the bullpen depth, they truly needed a lockdown closer. J.P. Howell, who led the 2009 Rays in saves, was shut down late in the season, and the Rays did not have a good replacement in case Howell's situation turned out to be worse than they believed. Enter the Atlanta Braves. They had a solid closer, Rafael Soriano, but he was expected to become a free agent. The Braves already signed 2 relievers, Billy Wagner and Takashi Saito, expecting to lose Soriano. Only issue, Soriano was a Type A free agent. Before the current free agent system where you have to offer players a qualifying offer to get a draft pick for losing them, we had this Type A, Type B system where Type A free agents had to be offered arbitration from their former team to receive a draft pick. Soriano and his agents, under this prior system, were allowed to negotiate with other teams and explore their market before accepting or declining arbitration. At the winter meetings, they realized that draft pick was hurting his free agency value, and they decided the best move financially was to accept arbitration. This caught the Braves off guard. They could not guarantee a role to Soriano and did not want to pay over $7 million for someone that may not even close. By rule, they could still trade him, he would just have to agree to a new contract with the team acquiring him. Multiple teams inquired, but the Rays seemed the most interested. Owner Stuart Sternberg preferred a cheaper option, saying there was no $7 million closer showing up, even though the Rays just saved almost $5 million by trading Awamura. On December 11, 2009, they would finalize a trade for Rafael Soriano, sending the recently acquired Chavez to Atlanta. Soriano was signed for 1 year, $7.25 million. So much for Sternberg's comments. Chavez barely spent a month on the Rays, and to this date has not pitched for the Rays at any point in his career. This would be the first of, wait, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times the Braves have acquired Chavez. Soriano went on to have an all-star season, leading the league with 45 saves and even finishing 8th in Cy Young voting. For the Rays, the move worked out well, especially considering J.P. Howell needed shoulder surgery that caused him to miss the entire 2010 season. As for Chavez, I can easily see this impacting him. He has now been traded twice, barely over a month between the trades, and both times he was traded because the other team simply wanted to dump a player's salary and did not have the leverage to get a bigger return. Chavez was essentially better than nothing. Regardless, he was now a Brave, and he had a chance to earn a roster spot. Yes, he did make the bullpen, but it was a struggle. He had a .589 ERA at the trade deadline, and the Braves needed to make some moves to improve their team for a potential playoff run. On the day of the trade deadline, Chavez would be traded again, this time to Kansas City. The Braves would get Kyle Farnsworth and Rick Ankiel, both rentals, and the Royals would get Chavez, Tim Collins, and Gregor Blanco. Chavez might have honestly been the least valuable piece of the deal. Collins was a 20-year-old prospect too. After the season, ranked 13th in a deep Royals farm system. Blanco got everyday starts immediately due to Ankiel's inclusion in the trade, and Scott Podsednik being traded a few days earlier, and David DeJesus getting hurt preventing a trade, and Jose Guillen finally getting traded because why was he ever a Royal? The Royals would dump Blanco early next season in a move that still infuriates me, but that's worth its own video at some points. In less than a year, Chavez has been traded 3 times, twice because the team acquiring him only wanted to dump salary, and in the third trade he was viewed as the least impactful player. Don't believe me? Baseball Prospectus was incredibly harsh in their review of Chavez after the 2010 season. They flat out called Chavez not a good pitcher, said it was baffling for Braves manager Bobby Cox to use him 28 times before the trade, and that the Royals having to use Chavez was merely one additional cost, the spoonful of medicine that helped the sugar go down, in reference to getting Tim Collins in the same trade. Ouch. And to be honest, some of the more recent comments are still harsh. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but my favorite must be from before the 2016 season, when they said Chavez, who is built like a quart carton of milk, has an expiration date of June 21st. It's very possible Baseball Prospectus hates Jesse Chavez more than Keith Law hates your favorite team. Okay, back on topic. Has your favorite team ever had that one reliever buried deep in their bullpen that probably should not be on their roster, and you just groan every time you see this pitcher warm up in the bullpen because you know the next inning will be a fun time for your opponent? That was Chavez in 2010. His struggles continued in Kansas City, where he regressed even further. He had a virtually identical ERA, .589 in Atlanta to .588 in Kansas City, but his strikeout rate went down, 7.1 to 5.5, and his walk rate increased from 2.9 to 3.8. As you could guess, his FIP went up by almost a run, 469 to 562. He only played 4 games for Kansas City in 2011, spending most of the year in AAA Omaha, but struggled even more. To date, his .695 ERA in Kansas City would be the highest of any team he's pitched for. He would be designated for assignment after the 2011 season, with Toronto claiming him off waivers. Toronto would designate him a couple months later, but this time he would clear waivers and be sent outright to AAA. Interestingly, Toronto would move him to the rotation while in AAA. It would be his first start at any level since 2007, and the first time starting consistently since 2004 in Single A. Chavez would look good starting, and he ends up catching the attention of Japan's Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. In May 2012, they offered Toronto $1 million for the rights to sign Chavez, and would assign him to a 2-year, $3 million contract. Easily the biggest payday for him. Toronto, believe it or not, declined this deal and opted to keep Chavez in AAA. When asked about the situation, agent Paul Kopp simply said, "No comment." I mean, of course he did. I imagine Toronto cost him a lot of money in commission fees. If there was any silver lining, Toronto would promote him a few days later, and he would make a season debut in relief of a disastrous start from Kyle Drabeck. Now there's a name I haven't heard in a while. Chavez pitched the final 5 innings of the game and looked good. He gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs, and a home run, but he struck out 7 and walked none. Now the game was 9-2 when Chavez entered. Players could be swinging more aggressively, stars could be pulled to get a few innings of rest, and umpires could be expanding the strike zone slightly, just hoping to get the game done and go home early. Still, a solid outing from Chavez. Unfortunately, he was sent right back to AAA after that appearance, and would later be designated for assignment again. Oakland would get Chavez for cash considerations, hopefully more than the $1 million Fukuoka offered a few months earlier. I know I mentioned Baseball Prospectus being harsh on Chavez earlier, but they summarized his changes in Oakland better than I could. He was no longer trying to rely on a 95-mile-per-hour fastball, and he added a 90-mile-per-hour cutter. He also started throwing his curveball more. These changes likely saved his career and turned him into the journeyman pitcher we know today. I have to believe Toronto rejecting that offer from Japan was a blessing in disguise. I discussed Brian Bullington in a prior video and mentioned a different Japanese team purchased his rights after the 2010 season. He became an all-star in Japan, but never pitched in the States again. Bullington recently turned 30 when his contract was purchased. Chavez was about to turn 29. If Toronto did take the money, would he have got another chance in the States? Between that and the early career struggles, it's very easy to imagine Jesse Chavez's career taking a different path. Chavez is more than made up for it financially, and he has the World Series ring to prove he's doing just fine. I still remember being surprised when Chavez first broke out of Oakland. I honestly had to look up to see if it was even the same player that once played in Kansas City. If this video put up a surprising performance just like Chavez did in 2014, then feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to also check out my prior videos. That Bullington video was my most recent. It highlights his two-hitter against the then reigning champion Yankees. Here's to a breakout just like Chavez.